Hey traders, so now in this interview, we're going to be talking with Wilski, a 200K funded trader, and I promise you, you do not want to miss out on this one. We talk about all of his transitions from lower time frame to higher time frame and some of the mindset shifts that he actually went through. This interview is going to give you so much more than just, your generic interview that some of these traders do. This one, you're going to take away so many different things that you can automatically apply to your strategy, and the mindset rules that he's done, you can apply them to yours as well. And I promise you're going to come out with this with a new perspective of the markets. Before we do that, we're going to jump into his trading dashboard and we're going to go through some of the different trades that he went through in order to pass to this funded account. So here you go. You can see that his average win was $4,000. He is a swing trader, so 3 days was his average duration. Win rate was 66, but that's only because he opened and closed just to test the account was working correctly. So we can go down here and you can see some of his swing trades on the pound dollar and also on USD, and these are some fantastic trades. Now that was on his one account. Here you go, you can see on the second account, again, he had a couple of losses, but overall, he had the swing trades short on the pound and also on euro. And again, fantastic trades. And we're going to talk about all of these different positions in this interview. Wilski, so congratulations, mate. Second time running.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, 200K funded. You've done it in spectacular fashion. You've been in the trading rooms and in the community, and you've shown your trades from start to finish. And you caught some of the nicest swing trades I've seen in a long, long time. So before we actually go through how you passed and everything, we're going to talk a little bit about your story, because you've got an interesting one in my opinion. And we will take it from there. So give us a little bit of a brief understanding who you are, how you got into trading, how you got into swing trading, and then we'll take it onto the charts and you can give us a little bit of alpha.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Kelsey Wilkes. I'm from the UK. I'm 25. And I mean, my journey has pretty much taken me from a boy to a man, because this journey started all the way back when I was only 18. And just to get into how I got into trading, I was looking at going to university, decided that finance is what I wanted to go into, especially more investment banking. So I was trying to learn how to get into it. I realized there was a private uni that I had the grades for. So I went to that. And within the first really couple of months, there was a trading floor within my uni. And they were teaching people how to trade. And ever since I saw that, you'd have like 10 adults come in at once. They'd teach you how to trade for 2 to 3 months, I think. And then by the end of it, you should be able to go off and do it on your own. So I was fascinated, but that cost thousands. And obviously I was only a broke student. So I got into that. And ever since I wanted to learn. So I went and done my learning. Like you think you can just go and do a little bit of looking on YouTube, figuring out how you want to trade. And I remember my first £5 trade. I put £5 on. You put money into a broker and you are so scared to take that trade. And of course, it lost. So the first trade I ever took, it lost. And I realized at that point already, the psychology was a massive part of trading. So when I realized that I needed more money, because back then it was just live accounts, I wasn't focused on props. I didn't know what props were at all until way later. So I went in and decided to get a second job at university. So I was already working retail in one job. I tried to do an extra job on the weekend. So I was pretty much working Friday all the way through to Sunday. And when I was doing this, I was stacking up money. It was going well, but I was still learning trading, but not at the rate I wanted to. But somewhere that was in 2019. So late 2018, I got into it. 2019, I was working both of these jobs, doing university. And then it got to a point where I just quit. And I just quit midway through 2019. I went out and partied and I kind of gave up on the dream. So that's
Quit trading.
I pretty much quit trading. I was not trading my live account.
Interesting.
I lost money. So I lost a good chunk of the money I put in. And I put in a lot of my savings I had. I had thousands and I was putting in thousands. And that's something I regret doing looking back. And then I was kind of in that depressive state of giving up something that you wanted to dream on. Got to COVID. And that's the point that everything shut down and everything was quiet then. And I realized that this is my chance to give it another go. Because in my head, I was dissatisfied that I hadn't achieved what I wanted to. And that's where I went back into trading. That point there, I really had to understand. I wanted a mentor. I wanted to take this slowly, and I didn't take it slowly, but I thought I wanted to. I put less in the live account. I actually joined someone who's well known called Raja Banks, and he had a group called Market Fluidity, and it was all about price action, support and resistance.
On gold, no?
It was gold and GJ. So I stuck mostly to
Ah.
GJ. I didn't want to go towards gold. I stuck with one pair. And these were the struggle years, 2020, 2021. I
Mm.
was still not seeing the progress. And I made so many psychological errors. I put way too much of the money that I was saving from university and working all these jobs into my live account. Then when a bad day come and I took too many trades, like you lose a couple of grand in a day and then you think, what am I doing? This is all the
Yep.
money I have. And that scarcity mindset it really put me on tilt. And for a while, I just was just losing thousands in the market. And this is all the money I've been saving up. And it really stressed me out. And then I kind of realized that at this point, I'm coming to the end of my degree. So I'm still in my degree. I'm getting it done. It's finishing. It was all remote as well because of the whole COVID situation. And I had to look for a job. So I applied for a grad role in accountancy. I moved
Mhm.
away from wanting to go into banking or anything. It was too many hours. And I was still doing my trading along there. And I realized after losing all that money, thousands of pounds, I've really got to get disciplined in my trading. So I did go into that grad role and it was accountancy for like only a few months, really. And then I felt like that was taken away from my trading. So I made a very big decision to get out of a grad job, which paid me very good money. I was on to being an accountant. That's quite a good job in many eyes. And then from that point, I really locked in with my trading and I realized if I'm going to give this the last go, really, at the point at which I've failed for years, I've gone into a job, I've quit my job, there's no other option now. So I really had to lock in, and my discipline into 2023 come a long way. And this is when the props kind of come in.
Mhm.
So I managed to find a strategy. I was actually trading within the 5 minute to the 1 minute on pound yen, and that's what I was trading still. And it was still that kind of support and resistance style.
Yep.
And in testing and back testing, it worked so well. When you go onto the live market, it didn't work so well. And when I had such high R trades, I was looking for 10 to 1 Rs. And then my losses would come in 10, 15 loss streaks. And I couldn't hack it. So I'd done my first prop in May 2023. And despite having these massive losing streaks and going into the depths of failing my first ever challenge, I stuck to my plan. I had a profitable strategy in my head. It was just not working out. So at this
Yep.
point, I've cleared all the psychological errors that I had in my trading. And I knew that with a good enough strategy that I could stick to around my life, I could be profitable. And that's the moment that the first prop firm didn't work. That challenge failed, went off prop firms and just went into testing mode. And
Mm.
that's where I started to find the SMC stuff. Traders will come on and say this kind of style helped them out a lot. I didn't watch ICT. I purely looked at a few concepts because I knew with a few concepts and learning and understanding the market structure and price action that I could be profitable. So I was
Mhm.
looking at liquidity, order blocks, and fair value gaps. So they're the three things that I tried to look at, forming a strategy of testing. Went from pound yen and changed to euro USD and pound USD. So they were the two assets that I really wanted to focus on. And for a while, between that May 2023 and the start of 2024, I wasn't taking any props. I wasn't trading live. I was purely just working on the strategy. Going into 2024, so you can see that this is a long time, and many traders don't realize it takes a long time to learn all of your mistakes. 2024 comes around, and I was so confident that I could do it. And I've had YouTube videos up before on my channel. I decided to scrap all of it and start again and show my full journey into 2024. And ever since I've been able to acquire all the funding that I have, showed every trade in my prop firm journey, showed the struggle, showed the good times, all of it. And then really up to this point, I would say it's been quite smooth and consistent because over them years, I filtered out what was not working and then made it work in the end. And now I'm at this point where I'm nearly a mil funded. Obviously, just got funding with Funding Rock and done really well in that challenge. That's probably the best challenge I've taken out of all the
Yep.
challenges I've taken. And yeah, that's the crazy journey. yeah, it's been a
The
wild ride.
development though from going lower time frame to where you're trading now, you get your levels off monthly, weekly, and daily, and you're trading off 4 hours. No, so you've gone to
Yeah.
higher time frame. What was that transition, and why did you make that transition?
So I done a 360. So when I went back, so what I did is I went back into my retail job in 2023 when I realised and I failed that prop firm account, and I was on the 1 minute. I was going into work in the morning in London session, stressing. I was trying to
Mm,
take a trade on my phone.
mhm.
And I said, this isn't the way I want to do it in the future because I want trading to fit around my life. And how is that going to be the best way for me when I'm still in work, when I'm working most of the day? I can't really trade until NYSE and I don't like trading in the afternoon. I'm a morning person. I like to be on the charts early. I just realized at that point that I could go on in the morning and set limits on the higher time frames and let them hit throughout the week. And if they didn't hit, take them off, whether that be the end of the week or the end of the day, depending on my rules. I just kind of fell in love with if I can understand the higher time frames and if you can get the higher time frame bias somewhat right most of the time, you don't have to go down more time frames to get an even more precise entry.
Mhm.
And you'll see with the trades that I will show you soon that I have big stops. I don't target huge R, like some of my R's are only 2R, 3R. My win rate's not even 50%. But I know that transitioning from the lower time frames and being so set on watching the candles versus setting and mostly forgetting. Of
Yep.
course, even to this day, I'm still looking on the charts. You can't help it. You're looking to see when the news comes out, what's happening. But just realizing that the frequency of trades can go from being 1 to 5 a day to 1 to 5 a month as well. That
Mm,
completely changed how much I could lose in a month. So before I could lose so much because the downside was it was just massive. If I was taking 5 trades every day, I could lose 25 in a week if I had no winners. Whereas if I was taking 1 to 3 trades in a week, really I can only lose three. And
yeah.
that's the difference. And I think the downside, looking at my downside was more important than looking at my upside at the time. And that's what helped me transition between them two time frames.
How was the transition mentally? Because obviously you've gone from obviously being very active and having, and we've got to say it, that bit of a rush, being on lower time frames and a more exciting trading, which is a lot of the reasons why a lot of traders are in that zone, because it is exciting and they're feeling like they're doing something, to then being more of a passive trader, putting limits in, letting price come to you instead of reacting to price. How is that transition? Because it's two different ways your mind is working. You're not really getting the dopamine hit when you're
No,
on a 1 hour, 4 hour, weekly, daily, whatever it is.
no.
So how was that? Was that difficult for you?
Do you know what? It wasn't. And the only reason why I say that is because when I started doing the higher time frame stuff, it just felt right. And when it feels right, you just trust it a lot more. And the mindset shift that I really had to adopt, less so from looking lower time frame to higher time frame, was more the fact if I can go with props, this is what helped my psychology as well when it comes to knowing how much I need to make. If I can do 1 to 3% a month on average every month over the year with enough funding, that's good enough. So I stopped trying to chase all these different trades and I realized that just take a few trades. You're not going to win them all. You're going to go on loss streaks. But at the end of the month, quarter, year, you will see that you'll be profitable. And ever since I've had that mindset, every single time I go into that quarter, the previous quarter was profitable. And some months I've had 2 losing months out of the 3, but then that 1 month was really good.
Mm,
And it's all about just limiting the downside and really trying to stick in there, maximizing the good periods and scaling.
mhm.
So it was easier than I thought, to be honest.
Let's jump into the charts because
Yep,
we want to see obviously how you look at the market and how you went through this evaluation.
sure.
You might want to maximize the screen for us. There you go.
Yeah, good. All right, yeah. So in terms of the assets I trade, I'm just trading Euro USD and Pound USD, and I do look at the DXY here and there, but I really want to focus on just these two really going into this period. So I'm going to go through my phase two trades, which were I took 3 trades, 2 were winners and 1 was a loss, and I actually started phase two in drawdown.
Hmm.
And the way I started this phase two in drawdown is if we go to this week here. Let me just go back to this upcoming week. So what I look at and what I'm identifying first is the weekly down to the daily. The weekly gives me the overall direction bias, and I will not trade against that bias. The daily, I'm looking for proof that we can continue to see the trend maintain. And what I want to look at on the weekly is I always like marking up my liquidity high and low. In this instance, we made this high in June, early July, and then this high was only formed after. But what we didn't do is we didn't clear through with a body. I like to see price cleared through with a body. This shows significance. If we close weak like this, it's a clear potential rejection going into the next month. So when we had this high and we pulled back, in simple terms, if this low, because this was the major pullback to try and form a continuation past this high, if we failed that, then I would say that this is our target for downside if we're going to be bearish. Then it would be like, what's going to make me bearish on this? Well, we can see here we've had a massive consolidation period, and this is what has been difficult to trade. And I took many losses in this area. EU has a strong weekly close. Now, what we saw is a rejection. We saw the next week close bearish. This week tried to go up, and then this week dumped. We actually cleared a few key areas here. So we actually took out, this low. This is also an important area. This low was in the range pullback to make this high. And because we closed strong at it with the body, we didn't see much of a reaction. We did see a retracement. I'm looking for further sells going into this week, and I'm looking at areas to trade within based on the previous week. So I'd mark up really simply previous weekly low, previous weekly high. And what I do in my trading is I keep it as simple as possible because I know it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. And many traders will try and use all these concepts and stuff thinking they're being intelligent when, if anything, it's just going to make you more confused. I like this area here. So I'm looking at this as this is the previous weekly low from the previous week, and that is what I would use as a weekly imbalance fill. This is an area we can pull back into. So I'm looking at a bearish confirmation off this weekly candle, scaling into the daily time frame. Now, what I usually look at is I look for a POI, so an area of interest, point of interest within here that I like to take a sell off. And automatically, there's no gaps in here or anything that I really can see standing out. So I'm going to then scale down. So I do scale down past the daily at times if there's ideas for a trade. If I'm looking at what we're seeing here within this big daily area, I quite liked the 2-hour POI. And the only reason why I like that is because it formed a very nice push down past these lows. We had an order block. So I had my first position set on the weekly, and this is a limit I'm going to set on Monday. And the trade was playing down to this low. So this trade here actually had a bigger stop loss. What I wanted to do is just have a big stop loss that would cover me into a second position. And this is a good example as well of I don't try and call an exact area that price will go into before we drop. I'm just looking for an area we can trade within. So I had that position there. That's the first position I lost. And then I had a second position. This second position was kind of within the same position as the first position. And if this one would lose, then I'd get tagged into this one. And as long as we respect the previous weekly high, and this was the weekly imbalance fill area, so I wanted an entry at that point, we can see the downside. And it's literally that simple. And of course, every day you're looking, and I do look for further confirmations within the daily time frame, but this week didn't really give it. So when we go into this week, we can see that we did try to go down to start the week. Then I'm trying to create a picture throughout the week of what's happening, because despite the fact that I'm not actually tagged into the limits yet, let me move these across. You can clearly see that this push down Monday, Tuesday, failed to take this low out. Therefore, now we've formed equal lows. So not only have I got previous weekly low there, I've actually got an equal low, which is a draw on liquidity for when we do get a rejection to the upside. We can see there's a higher chance price will magnet to that area. We get another pullback on Wednesday, and then we get Thursday here. So Thursday tagged me into this position. So it took nearly all week to get this position tagged in. And we did get tagged into this second position as well. And actually, I'm not sure exactly something about this. I'm not sure on. I think I might have had my stop loss a little bit higher up. But I had 2R trades on both of these. So regardless of the exact entry, my idea was to see this area respected. And what we saw is Friday took me out on this first position. So I was out of that. That's a loss. That's the first loss on phase 2. I risked 1.5%. So I've got 6-ish attempts to get it right before I blow the account. This trade gets tagged in. So this trade gets tagged in here, and this was on the 17th. And that was that week. So this week actually closed bullish. So not how I expected it to. but the overall daily, you can see how we're changing the structure. We were creating higher highs and higher lows all the way up. Then we start creating lower lows, lower highs. I'm just looking for that downside push going into the next week. And I think at this point, I was also looking at pound USD, but I'll go through the pound USD move separately. This
Yep.
move here was just 2R. And you can see over the next few days here, we did see continuations play out. I got into other positions on my other accounts within this confirmation, because another thing I talk about a lot is the strength of candles regarding how many days we've seen. So we can see here that who's in control here, the bulls or the bears. You've had 5 daily candles close weak bullish. We're clearly not coming back up to my stop loss because we're not seeing strength. This one bearish candle pretty much counteracted 5 bullish candles. So I did look for another position in there. And that next day pretty much went down and hit TP. So I made about 1R on that position there. So it doesn't look like much. But then when I come on to GU during the same period, we did see a really nice play. And this was last week, and this is when I passed my account. So the difference between EU and GU, we still had the highs and lows on the weekly. Now, GU messed around for a long time in the summer, especially around this level. This level here got tapped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We had this high formed, then we obviously took out, we pulled back into this area, and we did not take out this low. So again, we created the equal low. We then saw price pull up. So this pullback, in theory, should be the attempt for us to then clear this high, to continue the bullish structure. At this point, we did see a huge wick, and we closed an engulfing bearish candle. And I was scaling to sells all around here. And this is how I passed phase 1 on Funding Rock. At this point, this was a really nice close, because for a long time, this low here, we were kind of ranging between maybe this low and this red line here. And we didn't see a candle break through it. But last week, going into last week, we saw that break. And at that point, we got an engulfing candle. We've broke this level. There's an easy, clear range in my head to play in this whole area. So I'm just looking for a sell within this area. Ideally, would like a retest as well. So again, I scale down onto the daily going into the end of this week. And I would say, what am I looking for? Because I want to see a pullback in the previous weekly high again. If we're going to mark these highs up and lows up, that's the first thing I'm looking at. Are we going to respect previous weekly high? And I would say yes. The reason why is because we've had a continuation of a lower high. The weekly candle was strong. We just broke that area to the left. And really at that point, I am just looking for an area on the daily. And something with experience I've managed to understand is this wick high here. We took out this high. I like this area as an inducement. So if we don't come down now and take out these lows, this area here would be a magnet for price to gather more liquidity and to continue down. Just because the CPI news event that we saw on this Friday spiked us up. And that's another thing. Around key news events, there's very quick movement, and that movement happened within a minute. So it says to me that we're going to go down, but are we going to take this out first? So I'm going to mark this up as potential inducement. There, I'm going to look for a first position sell move. And I wanted to see the high taken out. But one thing is also a good tip to you guys, if you are trading prop firms and stuff, that you're going to be trading on multiple different accounts that all have different liquidity providers, which means that you might not get tagged in at the exact same price level. So I always move my stop entry, TP, all of it, all within a few pips. My actual entry is at 690. And this was the main trade that gave me this Funding Rock pass. My idea for stop loss based on this daily imbalance that we're not going to break, and this was the high that I expect the price to respect. We come into the week, Monday did not go down and take out these lows, and then Tuesday tagged me in by the 0.5 of a pip and hit TP within the same day. It's the first trade that's hit TP within the same day this year, which is just crazy. A little bit of luck, maybe not actually taking out that high by a pip, but all the other, if I was to look at all the other accounts I have, the live account, Funding Rock, this high was taken out. So something to do with the experience and understanding that that level might not hit based on a Wanda chart, but the other charts did. And they're the two trades that I took, and the higher time frame target, this one all the way down here, got tapped that week. And obviously I could have held this trade further down, but that was where my other positions were higher up there for the GU. And I think I've covered everything in terms of market structure, trying to keep it simple, looking for weekly confirms and then scaling in off daily confirmations. It's really as simple as it gets, really. I don't think there's much more to cover on that.
Seems a lot less stress. Obviously, it's stressful being in trades, but it seems a lot slower, more methodical. less looking at the charts. And I think, you're in the live trading room with me. I'm on the 5 minute, 1 minute. You're seeing me going long when you're actually macro
Yeah.
short and doing all of these things. And it doesn't change your bias. You're there. You know what you're looking for. You're staying committed to that particular trade, and it has worked out fantastically for you. So, how does that feel though when you've got loads of other people that are doing the opposite to you? You've got lower time frame traders where there's a lot of momentum going on the opposite direction. And in that EU 5 days, there were loads of trades there for intraday traders, and there was a lot of momentum. It looked like it wanted to come back up and take you out, to be honest, on some of those different times if you're in the lower time frame. So how do you cope with situations like that?
Yeah, great question. It used to really affect me back in the day. I'd always be looking to see if other traders had the same analysis as me, or are they trading against me. Over time, with the testing that I've done, and I'm heavily, I'm always on testing. People should be testing their strategy. You have the confidence that you can withstand, your highest potential loss rate and win rate, your average expectancy for everything like that. So when there's other traders trading a different way to me, all I'm focusing on is myself, knowing my edge, and knowing that in the period that I'm losing for 2 or 3 months, which has happened this year, I've not took one win in 2 months, and all these traders are showing their profits. It's just not my time to make profit, and my time is going to come. And when I'm winning, and when any trader's winning, they're not caring about if someone else is winning. They're only
Yeah.
caring about someone else is winning when they're losing.
Yep.
That's the important thing is the more you focus on your own trading and your own style and strategy, knowing what works for you, you can tailor it to you, and then you don't have to worry about other people because other people aren't going to make your profit. It's going to be you.
Talk us about that drawdown period.
Yeah.
How did that feel? How did that affect you? And did that affect you putting on
Yeah.
trades? How did you get through that period?
Yeah, this was the biggest drawdown period I've had since trading this strategy last year, and I did have a few periods last year where I'd have 4, 5 losses in a row. With the 40% win rate I've got, which is normally on the live market what I have, it is one of them things where if I was to go through my testing, I've had massive chunks of winners, massive chunks of losses. So if I'm looking at my data, I've got to sit there and say, I'm happy trading this way. Otherwise, go and find another strategy. Because if I can't do that in the live market, then I'm not going to be profitable and have that edge. So during that period, I think it was July, August, I had one win out of 13 or 14 trades. And I've had a lot of funded accounts go into 7, 8% drawdown. And in terms of psychology, this is something that traders don't realize is you will never get to a point where your psychology is completely in check and you're a robot. You are going to feel the emotions, probably exact same as before, but you don't act on them. So you have to have that barrier between how you feel and how you act. The more you act on it, the less likely you are to be profitable, and the less you act on it, the more likely you are to be profitable. Another thing I tell traders is if you go and start going onto a loss streak and you're losing 2, 3, 4 trades, think in your head there's a higher chance the next trade's going to win. And then if you keep going on a winning streak, there's a higher chance that next trade's going to lose. And that also keeps my mind sane. Just keep going through the data, go back through periods of my testing when I am losing and just go, am I doing anything wrong? Because at a certain point, you're going to ask yourself, am I making mistakes when I'm 8 losses in a row? Then if you can say you're not and it's not affecting you, then just continue to trade. Because when you say, does it affect me taking and placing positions? No, I will just take the trades exact same, regardless whether I'm up 10R for the week or month or down 10R for the week or month. I'm still going to take the exact same positions because I just follow the plan regardless. And if I don't follow my plan, then I know that I'm living and working outside of my edge. And then there's a higher chance that I won't be profitable in the coming months if I go on tilt. It's so easy to make mistakes and go on tilt. It's ridiculous. It takes one day. So if you're not on it 365 days a year, then that one day could ruin all the year's hard work that you've put in.
It does.
Really
Every trader's had those times where you've worked so hard and you've built up an account, and then you tilt and you have a big loss, and it sets you back a long time. That's definitely important. So closing this off then,
Yeah.
you're talking to your younger self, getting into trading, getting into potentially looking into prop. What would you say to him to make sure that he gets profitability faster?
Probably got to do the opposite of what you think you need to do, which is genuinely take your time and enjoy it for what it is. There's no point rushing. Everyone's got their own timeline. I would say the biggest thing, just I was calculating on the first day I found out about trading. I was going home on the train from university. I was working out if I made 20% a month, how long would it take me to be a millionaire? And if you do 20% a month and you compound it, it's not actually going to take that long. When you start looking at things like that, it warps your mind of perception when you need to focus on, okay, I don't have the funds, whether that be live account or funding. How can I get to this point that I'm going to be satisfied with the capital I've got? And you need to understand that 1 to 3 or 1 to 5% is enough. And if you're trying to focus on 10% a week, if you can't even consistently hit break even across the year, how are you going to even hit 1% a month? You're not.
Mhm.
So you've really got to look at just making that. And I can calculate it now. Like if you're going to go a bit riskier on a funding account, you've got 1 mil in funding, you're risking 1%, and you're making 3% a month. That's $30,000. You don't need more than $30,000. And if you do it on a 500K, you're still making $15,000. That's plenty of money for you. But you want to rush to get to that end goal. And it's took me 18 months from zero funding to nearly having a mil. And throughout that process, I've not blown one funded account because I risk high on challenges and then I drop it down to lower risk on the funding. And I've been very close to blowing funding, but it's also the expectancy of the testing I've done. I've worked out mathematically what I should be risking based on the drawdown that I have.
Mhm.
So it's not like I'm risking the amount I risk just because I want to risk a certain amount. It's based on what I've already tested. So yeah, I'd say to any trader that's new or getting into it is just all them things, realistic expectations. You're going to go through so many ups and downs. Some days you're going to feel like you're the best trader in the world. Other days you feel like you're still going to feel like that 5 years into your trading. You're still going to have periods of doubt. I still have periods of doubt. There's periods where I still cut my winners a little bit too early.
Mhm.
But it's not about not making any mistakes because we're human. It's about minimizing them mistakes. And as a whole, you will see the progress. Also, I'd recommend highly, and this is another thing, journal every trade, write down your thought process, and have a weekly outlook where you look at on a Saturday, Sunday when you're not active on the charts and you're fresh head. You've had a few days where you've not traded. You come onto a Sunday morning, you're going to have a lot better perception of the market and how it actually looks rather than in the week when you're taking trades how you think it looks. So also just doing everything to give you that small edge, because to get that edge, it's not easy. You're up against institutions, you're up against some very good traders in this industry, and you really don't need to do, all these different things. You just need to do the basic things well. If you do that, you will see results.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Wilski. Definitely come into our live trading rooms because he's there showing all of his different types of trades, his ideas, and giving you those nuggets of information that can really help you get to profitability faster. And we will see you in the next one. See you later. That's it, traders. So if you're ready to take your evaluation, you can go in the link in the description. You can start today. But if you're here just for the content, then make sure you like and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out on the future. Best of luck.